topic is parasitic computing. Contents: Introduction: How to communication through internet is done. Internet communication implementation. Proof of concept. Creating parasitic message. Problem for servers. Future. Conclusion. Reference. Introduction: The net is a fertile place where new idea or products surface quite often. We have already come across many innovative ideas such as peer-to-peer file sharing, distributed computing, etc. Parasitic computing is new in the category. Did you know? Sometimes size does not matter. If you are one in a billion in internet, there are millions of people like you who are being used. In the world of internet, millions of people just like you, and you will never know. Someone else is using your computer. He is slowing your connection speed for his own purpose. It's not cracking and hacking. You are a victim of parasitic computing. Now we are discussing about what is parasitic computing. First reported in journal Nature in 2001 by Barabasi, Fritz, Fayonk and Brockman. It is first reported in journal in 2001 by Barabas, Fritz, Fayonk and Brockman. A form of distributed computer architecture. It's a form of distributed computer architecture used for solving complex computational problems. It's used to solving complex computational problems. Target could never know. Exploit standard set of communication protocol internet. Potential standard protocols are TCP, HTTP, IP. In this parasitic computer used potential standard protocols. They are TCP, HTTP and IP. Parasitic computing is a concept by the when a can use the resource of machine that are connected to on internet. This technology exploits open internet protocol to use the resource of remote machine. As the name suggests, the machine that requires the service of others then not need to be authorized further later. Any machine which is connected to internet has to carry out minimum processing of any packets then they receive without any authorization. To know how it works, we need to know something first. How the communication through internet is done. When a user select a URL, action at a sender, open a TCP connection to web server, issue a HTTP request over TCP connection. TCP message is carried via IP. This when a user select a URL, used the action at the sender, open a TCP connection to web server, issue HTTP request over TCP connection. TCP message be carried via IP. Establishing TCP connection. Here, establishing TCP connection, first initiator node and accepted node. Initiator node gives acknowledgement, synchronized acknowledgement, and connection established. When a user selects a URL, action at a receiver. Receiver message through IP, validate checksum at TCP, validation push to HTTP to not validate discarded the packets. The TCP checksum work during the package transfer across the internet. Message can be corrected. TCP contains checksum that provides some data integrity of the message. Sender sent checksum and transmitted the message. The receiver also computes the checksum, and if it does not agree with the sender, then message was corrected and it is discarded. The abstract discuss the technical aspects of what is already been carried out and related issue. Internet communication. The parasitic computation, mainly used the internet connections are HTTP, TCP, IP. The sender and receiver to communication channel gives sender gives an input to receiver. Here we know that HTTP, TCP, IP, TCP, HTTP. This is the internet communication in parasitic computing. Implementation takes place at many layers in internet. Okay, till now there have been only one implementation which are exploited this concept of parasitic computing. Idea is to use some features of protocols in such as manner at a remote machine respond to the request unknowingly. Then they're involving solving complex problem, and they believe they are responding to a simple application request over TCP connection. The main target problem first US distributed environmental NP problem are non-deterministic polynomial problem. This problem was such that step cannot be expressed terms polynomial times, and therefore to no right solution. One has to evaluate many possible alternative implementation. When first you need to ever brief idea over TCP. Checksum, which will later how its work. Now in its server, protocol may be exploited to perform parasitic computing. Implementation made using TCP or higher level. Implementation using TCP. There are two implementations using TCP. First one, TCP checksum, HTTP service. Provide enough logical to compute any Boolean function. That's TCP checksum. HTTP service protocol always send a response to any message receiver. Now, sending a message over the internet is very sophisticated process. Is the message process across many layers from HTTP, then to TCP, then to IP layer, going to data layer, finally to the physical layer, and in the same manner the message is finally to the manage the message is consist back the destination to implement this concept to parasitic computing. We can choose to exploit processing quickly any of this layer, but below TCP layer it is not very beneficial. The proof of concept, solving three SAT problem solved the other complete problem. How it to work? A single home parasite node initiate the computation. First one, a single home parasitic node initiated in computation sended a specially created TCP package containing a possible solution. If the possible solution is corrected, the HTTP server return an error message. If the solution is wrong, then packet is dropped at the TCP layer, creating parasitic message. Here, the problem is constructed as the data part. TCP checksum sent is a representation of expected answer. Parasitic checksum and the variable string are sent to the remote machine for verification. Problem for parasite. Several computational cycles are taken to process the solutions, possibility of false negative, possibility of false positive. The problems of parasite is computational cycles are taken to process the solution, possibility of false negative and false positive. Problem for servers. Delay due to the parasitic message could cause a denial of service. It's a denial of service, almost impossible to prevent. It's almost impossible to prevent. Removing or changing the exploited function would cause the server unable to communicate. Almost impossible to prevent removing or changing the exploited function would cause the server unable to communicate. Ethics in parasitic computing. Future. Computation to communicate ratio must increases. Exploiting HTTP or encryption or decryption could executed in an efficient manner. The ethical dilemma could lead it to a well, vulnerable future. So, what does it all mean? Parasitic computing logically moves computation on the communication infrastructure and internet, blurring the distance between computation and communication. Now, parasitic computing is a programming technique for a program in normal authorized interaction with another program manages to get the other program to perform computations of a complex nature. It is in a sense a security exploit in that the program implementing the parasitic computing has no authority to consume resource made available to the other program. The example is based on exploit of the transmission control protocol TCP used for internet connections. So in the end, the target computer is unaware that it has performed computation for the benefit of the other computer or even done anything besides have a normal TCP or IP prediction. Parasitic is a logically most computational communication infrastructure of internet. Now the conclusion. TCP layer can be exploited and also cannot guarantee correctness of result due to false positive and false negative. To prevent parasitic computing may be slow technique to solve, but it could be used to load heavy request on server and get the solution for its problem. TCP layer can be exploited and also it cannot guarantee correctness of resulting due to the false positive and false negative. And to prevent the parasitic computing may be slow technical to solve, but it is could be used to load heavy request on server and get the solution for its problem. The parasitic computing is a technique in which one computer or server links to another server and use that equipment to provide computation capacity. Mm, thank you.